We had marked down that we're supposed to have children's time, but since the only two children here are my grandkids, they gave me permission not to do it. In the 19th century, before radar was invented, ships avoided each other by looking for beacons or lights on other ships. And they communicated with each other by flashing messages to each other by lights in Morse code. One day a battleship was out on maneuvers, and the captain of the battleship saw a beacon on the horizon. He realized that his ship was on collision course with it. So he called his signaler and told him, "Flash the following signal over there. We are on a collision course. Advise you to change course 20 degrees. The reply came back, "Advise you to change course 20 degrees. The captain signaled back, "Who do you think you are, telling a captain in the Navy what to do?" The response came back, "I am a seaman, second class. You better change your course 20 degrees. Now, by this time, the captain was furious. He signaled back, "I'm a battleship. I have no intentions of changing my course. Change your course 20 degrees. Once again, the reply came back, "I'm a lighthouse. Be my guest." Now, for Christians, Jesus is the lighthouse in the storm of life. And it is at our peril that we ignore him. The Bible is God's manual for life. It tells us how to live our lives as God the Creator designed us to live. And in it we find the marvelous teachings that Jesus has given us by which we can live our lives. Jesus gave much in his teachings in the form of stories that are called parables. In this morning's gospel, we see Jesus down by the sea. And he used a boat to go out from the shore so he could speak to the masses of people more easily. Jesus used simple everyday metaphors to explain complicated theological ideas. He puts complicated things simply. And the meaning of this morning's parable is simply that it's not enough to simply hear God's words. He wants us to put them into action. For many, the distance between the ears and the heart is a mighty long distance. In the parable, the various soils signify that there are four possible reactions when we hear the words of God. First ground of Jesus' parable is the pathway. The seed doesn't grow because the path has been so trampled down that the seeds cannot penetrate the ground. So it lies on top and the birds pick it up. This ground represents the hearts of the people who hear Jesus' words and are just not interested in them. They can't be bothered and think Jesus' teaching is foolish. And for such people, Jesus' words are soon forgotten. One such person was Joseph Stalin, one of the greatest mass murderers of all times. But Stalin, as a young man, went to a theological college, but rejected the teachings of Jesus to embrace the harshness of communism. The second type of soil in Jesus' parable is the rocky ground with shallow soil. These seeds start to grow and put down roots, but there is not enough soil for the roots to grow. This soil means people who would like to be disciples of Jesus, but does not put in the effort needed. They don't find regular time for prayer or for reading the Bible. They come to church at Christmas and Easter and think that's enough. But the words of God doesn't take root deep in their hearts. And they soon drift away from the Christian living. If you ask them, they would say that they are Christians, but they are only so in name. The sun comes along and they are off on holiday, and Jesus' teaching is soon forgotten. The third type of soil is good, but the environment is bad and chokes the seed. The seed falls on soil that is deep enough for the crop to take root, but the thorns spring up. The seed springs up and is choked by the cares of life. This means people who earnestly want to follow Jesus' teaching, but the worries of life crowds Jesus' teaching out. They get sidetracked. Often they worry about money. They just want to make enough to be comfortable and spend more and more time working and have less and less time for God and family. I have never heard anyone on their deathbed say, "I wish I had spent more time in the office." Yet, many people live as they believe that. The ground might be good, but the environment is bad. And the final ground of Jesus' parable is the good soil, where the seed produces a wonderful crop. Following Christ is more than simply listening to Jesus' words. We need to be committed to the cause. We need to make following Jesus our major concern in life. That doesn't mean that we can be interested in our jobs and family, but it does mean that we need to bring Jesus into our daily living. We set aside time for prayer, for Bible studies, and spending time worshiping God in church and in our homes. For the seed of God to be of any use in our lives, it has to germinate in our hearts. Our hearts is the soil that Jesus spoke about in the parable. It becomes good soil when we spend time in prayer, speaking to God and listening to God, and when we read His words. May you grow in the grace and knowledge of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.